Thank you for standing by, and welcome to the Tamp Auto Espresso Programming Webcast. During today's webcast, attendees will be in listen-only mode. There will be a Q&A session at the end of today's call. If you have a question during the presentation, you may submit it online by entering it into the QA panel. If you're in full screen view, click the question icon located in the floating toolbar at the lower side of your screen. Simply type a question into the dialog box and click the Send button. If you're in the split screen mode, the Q&A panel is already open and is located on the lower right side of your screen. As a reminder, this presentation is being recorded. If you are experiencing technical issues, please contact WebEx Technical Support. Our speaker today is Guido Day, Manager Technical Support. Guido, please go ahead.
Hi everybody, my name is Guido. Today I would like to talk about the programming from a BUN Tamp one-step machine. First of all, thanks for looking at this one. That you're looking at this one, it probably either means that you already have a unit and you want to learn about how can I make adjustments there inside, or you just want to learn about how and see how simple it is for perhaps any future opportunities there. This session here is recorded, so you don't have to take any screenshots in between or something like this. And after this recording, you will get as well a link to this webinar so that you can always look back there and see the information. Please feel free to ask any questions throughout the whole course here. We will review these at the end from the session, so we will do that Q&A at the end of it. Let's talk about programming and what is behind that, and let's start, and everything will be very heavily focused around our screen. So the machine can be run basically in two different operations. So the first one, and that's the screen layout you see here, is our operator screen. And normally the operator screen works in this way, that the customer is doing its pre-selections on, say, the operator wants to have a large, whole, cold latte with the right bean, which is the regular bean there, and then the machine is making that drink. The self-service screen is a little bit different, and we will turn that on in a little bit and show it to you, because there you always pick first which kind of drink do you have, and in which size do you want to have it, which kind of milk do you want to have it. So that's more really for the people which are walking towards the machine and make that drink on their own. On the screen we have the left and the right selection for regular or for decaf. Remember, decaf is a smaller one, regular is our larger one, so decaf is left and the regular one is right. You find on the care and cleaning page, when you press this button here, you find the possibilities to rinse the equipment. You can prime the milk 1 and prime the milk 2. You can start a cleaning cycle, and it shows you here on that screen which are the correct part numbers for the cleaning supplies there. After a while, the machine will always go back into that screen here. And whenever the machine is ready and can give you all the drinks, they are always color-coded, while if something is not right, and for example, I never primed the second milk, so you see immediately that your drinks are disappearing and you cannot make them. You see here a question, or it would be how to basically prime the milk. The explanation mark is that the machine is requiring either a PM or a water filter change. And the explanation mark does not interrupt your business, it doesn't interrupt the functionality from the equipment there. It is you have the cancel button, so in case you press something wrong, you can always go back with this one. This cancel button basically changes to a stop button as soon as I press a button here to make an espresso, and I said, oh, something is wrong, you can always press the stop button here as well. The equipment, and you press and hold the button for 5 seconds. So on this screen, this is basically where the operator, without having any codes or any further, numbers to get in there, can get relevant information out of the unit. And let's start a little bit here on the top right corner there. You see there's currently a version 36. That is our software version. I think for you as an operator, it's not very, very important. Then we see the serial number. The serial number is there. In case you have to place a service call, you always find it here. Underneath of that one, you currently see here 5 squares. These squares are currently empty. If you have a machine which has bundling and bundling is active, these ones are green. And they look basically like a status bar, a reception bar on your cell phone. So that's the signal strength there. What is behind our cell phone signal there. You saw the machine tried to do a milk rinse. That's what the machine is doing every 5 minutes after the last product had been done. You can always cancel it. But let's talk further about our products, or our buttons, what we have here. So the first one is our standby mode. The standby mode is that you can basically put the machine in a sleep mode, and when you press this one here, the display goes black. You still hear on the back of the machine the fan running, and this is basically how you want to keep the machine overnight. The boilers are still staying at a warmer temperature. The steam boiler still has pressure into it, and we are basically avoiding that the machine overnight is cooling down, heating up, cooling down, heating up, cooling down. We are avoiding that stress on the material, so that's why we have that standby mode there inside. Again, I'll let the machine now finish its rinsing here real quick, because otherwise I would get that alert all the time again. If I come in the morning and I want to take the machine back in operation, I basically just press the bar, and you see now the touchscreen, and you see now 2 bars. The top one is our brew boiler, the lower one is our steam boiler, and at that point the machine is heating up. As soon as the machine reached its operating temperatures, it will just then switch to your operating screen there, and you can start making these kind of drinks. Okay, so let's go back into our screen here. The next one are our regional settings. So in the regional settings, you can basically change the time and date from the unit. This unit does not have a summer saving time, so twice a year you have to do a manual adjust if you want to have your time correctly there. And you can basically change on the newer software versions the language between English, Francais, Espanol, and you can change the units in between English and metric. Out of the box, the machines are all running in English and in English, just because of the market where we are in there. If you want to change something, you tap on one of these buttons, and then you change with up and down to whatever matching time we have. You press a save and exit, and you're coming out of that screen there. The next one is basically our cup counts. The cup counts is kind of a little bit more that if you don't have a POS system or something like this, you can match up and see exactly how many drinks the machine made from each individual drinks. And with this unit, you can even break it down that you can say, I want to understand how many drinks had been either whole milk or non-fat milk by just making your selections here. And these selections you always have here down in the button. You have either a daily counter or a lifetime counter. Whatever is in capital letters is your actual counter. The daily counter you can select and you can reset it, and from that point on you start again out with 0. While if you go to the lifetime counter, that lifetime counter is never resettable. So that is behind our cup counts, and then we have our machine statistics. These machine statistics is really just what happened over the course of the operations, and we are looking here a little bit more into how often did the brew mechanism run. We are looking there inside, how often had been a cleaning cycle performed, how often did this run through without any issues, how much milk did you use, how much coffee did you use per grinder. So you can also see that. Again, the first page is always resettable as a daily one. If you go to the lifetime totals there, that is something what we cannot reset at all. The technician takes this cycle counts and reports this on the work orders when they report the work back to us. So this is all accessible without any codes, and then you might see sometimes down here a reminders button. This reminder button is if a technician programmed the reminder to change the water filter or to when the next PM is due. That would then trigger, for example, on the standbar on your regular screen in the status bar, the explanation mark if this one is past due. I have down here an advanced menu options button, and we will talk about the operator code. The operator code is 6601. So with 6601, you're coming into the programming from the equipment. Is this something where you want to have everybody from your crew, every personnel have access to? No, because what you can do is you can change very significantly the recipes and the behavior from the equipment, and with this, the taste from the drinks you're delivering to your customers. So let's look what is behind that screen and what we can change. So I press Advanced menu. I then go in and I enter 6601, and now you see the next screen. The next screen basically now holds, hang on 1 second here. So the next screen holds recipes, key assignments, machine settings, grinder settings, and you can import and export information. So what can I do here? Let's start with the key assignment. The key assignment is basically your screen layout. On the screen layout, you can say on which button do I want to have which kind of set of recipes. Remember, I said that I think earlier that you can only select drinks out of a library. So if you press, for example, the cup preheat here, it shows you which other products you have available to put on that button, and with this you can make your drinks. You select them, and they will always bring in a specific recipe which Bun defined as a default recipe. When you do these selections, you always have to be careful that you do this for either the left or for the right grinder. That means that you can have different recipes on your second grinder, which is normally the decaf grinder, and which are in most of the cases matching recipes. But remember, whatever change you do on the left-hand side does not carry over to the right or vice versa. Okay? So as soon as you did your screen layout correctly and you know what you wanted to do, you can talk about the recipes. What you cannot do is you cannot put on two of these buttons espressos, single ones on it. You always have the possibility to do one single, one double, one triple, but you cannot put two different singles with perhaps different recipes behind it. Whenever you say, oh, I just wanted to look and I don't want to save anything, you can either press a cancel button or you can press a default button. The default button brings the machine back to a Bun standard factory setting. If you're operating on that standard factory setting and you press the default, you're just basically confirming the recipes. If you have customer-specific screen layouts, customer-specific recipes, as soon as you press default, they're gone. So be very careful with that default button. And once you pressed once default and you had customer-specific ones, these cannot be restored and they are gone. Let's do a save and exit, and let's look into our. Let's look first into our machine settings. So in our machine settings, you can basically change the water temperature. The water temperature out of the box comes as 195 degrees temperature there. If you are changing this water temperature, that also has an impact on your taste from the coffee. Normally when you do the coffee a little bit colder, you don't get such a nice crema. You normally have perhaps as well a little bit, faster dispense times. Your coffee might be running a little bit more on the acidic side. If you're increasing the temperatures, it's a little bit more likely that perhaps your crema gets a little bit darker. You might have a little bit more harsher taste coming out of that drink. So 195 is something we see most of the customers are running between 193 and 195. So normally you don't have to worry about that one. Here, as you have a one-step machine, you can select how many types of milks you have. So if you only run the machine perhaps with one type of milk, you can select the number 1 here, and at that point the machine will never ask you to prime the secondary milk. You can never select the secondary milk there. Out of the box, the machine comes with 2, because that's what most customers are running on. But you also have the opportunity here to basically put the machine into a sequence. Sequence means you have in the fridge twice the same type of milk, and as soon as one of the milk jugs goes empty, the machine automatically switches over to the second one. But that only again works if you're running with the same type of milk there. Let's go back to the number 2. And the last one here is what you can do is you can select your self-serve. Self-serve is, remember what I said earlier, was when a customer walks to the unit, the screen looks different. You can define here in this section how the screen looks like. Out of the box, self-service is off. When you turn self-service on, you can put onto the front screen a maximum of 6 products. So let's do 6 products. You can enable cold drinks. So if you want to have an iced latte, an iced cappuccino, the machine can do that, can give you the selection on it. You can do number of milks is either 1 milk, is either 2 milks, or is either again the sequencing there, which basically is 1 milk but double the volume. You can select number of sizes too. So in self-service, we can only do basically 2 different drink sizes. And always remember about self-service, the more confusing you make it for the person walking up to the unit, what is the correct cup size, what is the correct label on the screen and things like that, the more likely is that drinks are overfilling, drinks are underfilling, because a customer just basically didn't press the correct button on the screen to the matching cup. That's why we only have 2. If you only have 1 drink size, we set it to 1 drink size. And then we can basically name our bean hoppers in the selection either left or right, or regular and decaf. Out of the box is regular and decaf to make the customer that selection. So if I now press a save and exit, I press a save and exit, and back out of my programming menu, I go backwards, Now you see a self-service screen. So this screen is now totally different. You just walk up and say, I want to have a cappuccino. Now you have the option if you want to get the cappuccino cold or hot. It says, if you put ice into the cup, put it in half. I want to have a hot one. After this one, you have the selection now that you can say, oh, I want to have the large drink. And then it tells you right at this point, which type of milk do you have. You see here, the low fat is currently not highlighted because we never primed the machine with this one. That's why it says here the low fat milk is empty, but it still allows the customer then to say, hey, rather than walking away, I'm good with whole milk, and I select my regular milk there. And then you can make the selection about which kind of coffee you want to have there inside, so decaf or regular. I want to have a regular one. And then basically it shows you, before you now press the button, place a cup, and you will get a cappuccino, which is hot, large, regular milk, regular coffee. And if you now press your button here, the machine will make that drink for you. So that's different than the operator screen, self-service screen, operator screen. You as an operator can make that decision on your own. If you need to have 3 sizes, you have to go with the operator screen there. And if you say, hey, I can live with 2 sizes and 6 products, the self-service screen is also working fine. To get out of the self-service screen now, in the first place, you have to press the button logo. That brings you back again into our screen where we have the magic button. And now let's press and hold the button logo for 5 seconds. We go back into the advanced menu, 6601. 6601 was our operator code. That had been in the machine settings, self-service, and we turn self-service off. Now I have the machine back again to my normal operator screen. Okay. The next one is, I would like to talk about the recipes. In the recipes, when you look there inside, you have individual recipes for a small, a medium, and a large drink, as well as a hot drink and a cold drink. So if you want to change the recipe, for example, on a large hot cappuccino, you press the large button, you press the hot button, and then you go to the button cappuccino, and that's where your recipe change is now happening. Remember, you have a left hopper and a right hopper. Whatever you do on one hopper doesn't transfer to the second one. In my recipes, I have multiple parameters I can change. The first one, coffee. That is the amount of coffee going into the brew chamber. So this one is currently sitting here at 16 grams. That means we are making, in a small cappuccino, out of 16 grams of coffee, that cappuccino. Oh, it's a large one, sorry. The water is 110 milliliters on this drink. So that's a portion from the large cappuccino, from the espresso portion. If you would have a bypass after or before, that applies basically only to 2 products. That applies to our cappuccino, to our Americano, or to our coffee. If you have a bypass after, that's the Americano. If you have the bypass before, that is our coffee. So here we bring the water in to dilute the espresso shot to get to these plain coffee drinks. We have 2 factors where we can change the taste from the drink. So the first one is a pre-infusion in milliliters. You can enter a little bit amount of water which goes into your coffee ground, and then the machine has a dwell time where it basically lets sit and bloom the coffee in the brew chamber, and we are extracting the flavor out of the coffee shot, and then the remaining water out of that one is then going with the regular brew. So this is something where you can adjust, as well, taste profile in your drink. Remember, when you do these things, when you put a pre-infusion and a dwell time into it, your shot times normally tends to become longer. And you don't want to get them too long, but you want to keep them in a good range. You have here a test coffee button. This test coffee button is really there to just run the drink with the coffee portion in it. No milk is dispensed or something like this. So this is really just our coffee portion from the cappuccino. If you make, for example, a change and you say, 110 is not what I wanted to have 80 milliliters there inside, you see the machine takes it. As soon as you press the bun default recipe, it brings you back to the 110. Also remember, a default pressing brings you back to bun defaults, not if you have something different there. A cappuccino has as well milk in it, so you have a section where you can do the milk setup. The milk setup, you can select basically how much milk is going into the product and how much foam is going into it. So cappuccino is normally a foam-driven product, so we only see the foam here, and that foam brings you normally into a ratio of 50-50 in between milk and actual foam. If you would have a latte here, you would probably have at this point 260 milliliters of milk and 30 milliliters as a small layer of foam on top of that one. So that's how you make that adjustment there. You have here the syrup offset. And the syrup offset was on the operator screen, where you can say if I run the machine with pressing this button, I'm lowering my volume of 50 milliliters in this drink to keep room for my flavoring. You could add a cold foam on top of a drink. It's perhaps only used if somebody wants to do some sprinkling around that one there. So we don't see a lot of usage out there, but that's the idea behind this one. The speed adjust is something where you could change a little bit how quick the pump is running, which might change a little bit the temperature from the drink, but we don't want to touch that. You can do a change from the dispense order. The change from the dispense order means here it is set milk and coffee, so the product will be coming out, the espresso portion as well as the milk portion, at the same time. If you want to do perhaps some layerings, or if you want to do that you have on your espresso, for example, a brown milk foam on top of it, so a little bit more coffee forwarding drink taste profile, you would change this one then, for example, into coffee then milk. So at that point then the machine would be doing the espresso portion first. When the espresso is done, then the machine is adding the foam in the cup. So you have different possibilities here to design your drink, and you can have a milk and coffee. You can do first the milk and then the coffee. This is kind of the layering, what I mentioned earlier. You can do a milk and a delayed in coffee. You have a coffee and then milk, or you have a milk only product. The fastest of everything to get a drink into the product is always the milk and coffee, because we are doing both things at the same time. You can test from this page as well the milk, or you can test from this page the complete finished drink. So if you want to, perhaps you're getting different cups and you'd always want to make your change here, but you don't want to go always back to the front screen, you can run your finished drink from that point. That's the idea behind that. When we talk about programming and recipes, one recipe is very important to us. It is the double espresso. The double espresso comes as a standard value with 14 grams of coffee and 60 milliliters of water into the cup. This is an SCA standard for a double espresso, and we instruct that every technician is calibrating our grinders on this product. And we want to calibrate the grinder at that product to get to a dispense time somewhere between 18 to 23 seconds. When you run the test coffee, you see that up here you have a shot time, and the machine will be showing you the shot time right there. So you don't have to stand here with a stopwatch or try to, think, oh, the machine started now and the machine stopped now. Now the machine will tell you what is my actual dispense time. But that's the importance behind that product. Every technician calibrates the machine on the double espresso. So don't try to find a different product out there, because as soon as a technician comes in, he might be changing and calibrating it on the wrong product, not knowing that you picked something as a different base. Keep that in mind. That's kind of very important. So we have after that one a button here, which is the import and export button. The import and export button is used to be able to basically either transfer my screen layout, my recipes, everything what is customizable from this unit to the next one, or I bring a USB stick with me and I import my information into this machine. So with this, the idea is if you have a site with multiple machines, you develop on one machine your screen layout, your recipes, your taste, your sizes and everything, and then basically you save it, you go with this one and go side by side and you multiply that machine settings. As the machine doesn't have a backup, if you have very customer specific recipes, you can always create with this your own backup there, put it on a USB stick, put it in a drawer, and it's always available there in case somebody presses the default button. We saw after an activity of 30 seconds, the machine will always lock you out. We made that on purpose so that nobody forgets to turn it back over into the operating screen and suddenly a customer can change these values there. So again, the 6601 is our operator code. And now I'm coming to my last point here, which is our grinder settings. So in the grinder settings, I can do a couple of things. So the first one is a fresh shot. I can turn a fresh shot on. What is a fresh shot? So the fresh shot means that the machine has, after a while where the machine was not making any drinks, we always want to get a little bit fresh coffee ground into our dechaffers, so that the coffee which is going actually into the brew chamber is always fresh. And out of the box, the machine would basically grind after 60 minutes not making a drink, 5 grams of coffee into the brew chamber and would dump it, so that when you make the next drink, the machine is just getting fresh coffee there inside. Out of the box, this feature is not activated. But that's behind that theory of a fresh shot. The next one is a hopper empty detect. And a hopper empty detect means that the machine thinks my grinder has no beans in it anymore. You still have beans up here, and you can reset that value there inside. So the grinder is relearning its emp draw there. In the newer software versions, whenever you get an error message about bean hopper empty, the machine automatically resets that one. In some older software versions, whenever you get a bean hopper empty message, you have to go here inside, basically press the reset, and then the machine learns its value new there. The last two items here are basically the calibration from a grinder. The calibration from the grinder, we have another session where we are coming in and actually showing and doing the calibrations on the equipment. We will cover that there in depth. Here, I'm just opening this one real quick, and basically we are asking a customer to do a catch test 3 times in a row, to tell the machine how much coffee is coming out of the grinder, and then the machine knows how long to run the grind for a customer-specific recipe. Again, the whole calibration is another webinar where we are just focusing on that section there. So with save and exit, I can always go out, I save it. If I press a cancel, it's basically whatever changes made are not getting brought over, and the machine basically stays where it was before. These are all my things I can program in the unit. They are hidden by the 6601, or they are here in that area where I can just press the button logo. Do me always one favor. Don't show this to everybody. Give it to that 6601, give it to a group of people where you know that they only change what is needed, because every recipe change might be a taste change to your customers, to your products, and keep that in mind. So I hope that you took something out, our programming session around how I can set up and modify the equipment without necessarily always placing a service call. We're always here for you to help as well. If you stuck somewhere there inside, the videos, again, you will get a link at the end, so you can always scroll forward and backward to see the information there. You can reach me, you can send me an email. The email should be on that WebEx at the beginning. So I hope you took something out of that one, and enjoy that first hands-on experience on your equipment. Thanks for that. That time, if you have any questions, what you would like to answer here, and just shoot it out and we will cover it. Is that working better? Perfect. Still had my headset on, sorry. So that's happening when you go into a Memorial weekend where the weather is outside. So everything is at that point very excited. So I only saw the only question there about our 110 millimeters and if I can do adjustments there. So if there are no further questions, I would say I apologize for our technical hiccup here at the end of the session. You saw at the very beginning my email address coming out there, so I just can encourage you to send me an email if you have additional questions there. Other than that, I hope to see you next Friday here for the calibration from the equipment, and talk to you soon. Have a nice Memorial weekend and stay safe.